So today's topic is going to be I Know What You Did Last Summer, and if there is a future for it and what that could possibly be. Because in 2021 they had the TV show, but that was not well received at all, and whether you liked it or not, it weren't successful, and so it was cancelled. But right, what does that mean for the series overall? Is there a future for it? Now, to me, I think there's still a future for it, but there's just a few things they could do to make it successful, because it was the 7th greatest slasher and it's one of the most iconic films out there. So why they haven't done anything with it does baffle me. Why it's been left for so long, because they could have done a third film. They could have done a lot with this franchise. Like, it was very popular and still is. It still has its fans, and it's a very iconic horror movie for today. But it is bogged down a bit, it is compared to Scream a lot, as that was done by the same writer. But aside from what you think of it, there was a lot of plot to be had, and there was a lot of stuff they could have done. So when the third film had nothing to do with the first two, it was a shame. But then the TV show came out in 2021, and then it was just not what people wanted. People wanted a normal slasher film, but the show was just completely different. Whether you liked it or not for that, then that's up to you, but it does leave in question where the franchise can go from here, and if there's a future for it at all. Now, I don't think there's a future for it right now. I think maybe in a couple years they'll look back on it and think, alright, let's try and reboot this again. But here are a few things I would like to see, or a few possibilities of what they could do. Number one, a proper third series in the reboot with Carla, Ray and Judy James. Now, especially with how horror films are now, with like Halloween, where they bring back old characters, I don't know if this is the one for it, because Judy James is not a popular horror character at all, and the reason for it is because people think she's whiny, she's not a good survivor, and also it's because they killed Helen Shiver's character, so that led people to compare the two, where they were like, well, Judy sucks compared to Helen. Which, whether you agree or disagree with that is up to you. My personal thought is, I think Helen should have been the survivor, if not the final girl, like they did with, say, Gail and Sydney in Scream. But anyway, I don't feel like the second film was popular enough to justify a sequel all these years. And story-wise, it wouldn't make that much sense to me, because it just wouldn't make sense to me that after all this time he would then go hunt them. Because the second film was literally straight after the first, so this guy wouldn't be waiting for like 25 years just plotting for something to do. Like, this guy just would go with his hook and kill them all. That's what he did in the first and second. So if they can't do a third, what can they do? They could remake it. They could remake the first one where they changed some stuff. Now, I feel like they should have remade this film ages ago, and I don't get why they didn't. Apparently there was a remake they was going to do with Mike Flanagan, some cancelled script, but it wasn't really a remake though, it was a third film. But now, the reason why I feel like there could be a chance for this, but also very low, because people aren't interested in remakes now. They're more interested in a sequel or something to it, especially with horror films recently. But I feel like this is probably one of the more higher ones as of lately, because a sequel with the third one does not seem likely to me at all, because it would seem very strange, and I don't think it's popular enough to bring it back. But I feel what they could do and what they should do is either a remake, or they should add more scenes to the original, like they are for the 25th anniversary. They're adding 6 deleted scenes and alternative ending. Now, my thoughts of what they could do with the franchise is they could either do a remake and have Helen survive, because I know it done last summer. The reason why, and I think what makes it so iconic as well as talked about, is because they have one of the best horror movie characters, arguably, Helen Shivers, and they killed her off. And it really has led this long debate and discussion whether she should have lived, she should survive over Julie. And so I feel they should take advantage of this, because there's never been a horror franchise where you go, oh, like, she should have lived, he should have lived. Like, there are sometimes, but there's never where you think they should be the main character. Stuff as discussed as I Know It Did Last Summer's Helen Shivers, because she's been discussed and debated in recent years a lot. And if you search up Helen Shivers, you'll find a lot of articles, quite recently actually, from this year to April to June to 2019, all the way, because people really did like this character, and they really did feel like they were given a disservice with her dying over, say, Julie. But I feel like they should take advantage of this. Now, how could they? They could, one, either bring back the old cast, shoot some new scenes with them, like, for example, I don't know how you could do it, like, whether you de-age them or bring doubles in or bring a lot of makeup in or something, but you could reshoot some scenes with the original cast, for example, Helen, Cher, Michelle Gellar, Jennifer Love Hewitt, Ryan Phillippe, and Freddie Prinze Jr. You could reshoot some scenes with them, if you could de-age them and stuff, I'm not sure, but if you do, you could finally have a version where Helen survives, where Julie sadly dies, and just have it be a separate piece to it, because I feel like that would immensely help the longevity of the film, and it would be a lot of fan service as well, is it would give the survivor people wanted, And the people that didn't like Judy James, they could probably rewatch the whole film and think, oh well, I don't mind her, I guess, because in the other version Helen survived. And when you see Helen's death, you can be like, oh well, at least she lives in the other version. And it would actually make people appreciate the film more, because they wouldn't watch it and think, oh well, she should have lived, she should have lived, this is just stupid, this is stupid, like, she should have lived. They can watch it and actually appreciate. Yeah, and you could watch it and actually appreciate remake the film. They could remake the film, new actors, new everything. I'm not sure if that would be popular now, but that could be another direction. And if not, then they could just do a new movie, because without any old characters. But what I would rather is I would rather them add some things to the original, have a new version where Helen lives, because it would give both versions more longevity, as you could rewatch the original where Helen dies and be like, oh well, this doesn't suck. You could be like, well, Helen dies in this version but she lives in the other one, so I should just enjoy this film for what it is. And then with Michelle Gellar's, if Judy does die in that one, fans would actually feel sad for her character and watch the original and be happy that she survived. So it's a double-edged sword. 1 second. But Helen Shivers does have the potential to be one of the best horror movie characters if they did do her right. Not that they did her wrong, but if she survived in a new version, she would be very high up there. And I think that would help bring the franchise back in momentum, as it would be another really discussed horror topic and debated, spoken about, because Helen Shivers' survival was something even fans wanted to see back then. So, you know, you could have her be chased and then escape, and then Judy and Rose die. Then in the final showdown on the boat, she could say stab the killer with her crown, and then the killer could fall in the lake like he did when he grabbed the crown. But that's just my personal opinion of what they should do for it. But if this franchise does have a future, which arguably I think it does, because the first film is iconic and it's a horror staple, and even though there was a misstep with the TV show, I think it does show that there is still hope, because Sony is releasing the 25th anniversary edition. They've de-aged the cast, or they remake it, or they do something else new completely. Hopefully they can execute it right the next time. What's the future for the series? What would you want it to be? What projects would you want them to do? Do you agree with my thoughts that they should do a new version where Helen lives? Or do you just want something completely new and fresh? Tell me your thoughts below, comment, share.